Welcome back. I hope you had a great Good Friday and Easter. You had a nice day off yesterday. We are going to be looking at today, continuing what we talked about on Thursday, which is looking at primary documents. Today we're going to look at the Boston Massacre. We're going to look at the image that we have here on the screen. And this is very interesting. This is where I talked about how propaganda could play a big role in this. And this was made by one of the more famous people of the revolutionary time period, Paul Revere. He made this engraving, and he was definitely using propaganda with this. If you look at the picture on this, you can see a lot of different things going on. Right now, if you want to just pause my video, I want you to just talk to someone, whether it's a person, whether it's brother, sister, mom, dad, maybe it's a pet, maybe it's a stuffed animal, or just to yourself. I want you to talk about what you notice in this picture, and then I'll add some more information in just a second. Okay, one of the things that I'm noticing in this is, obviously, I think you can see the guns. You can see the smoke from the gunpowder from the gun being shot off. You can see blood down here. Those are some of the things that I notice. It looks to be like you're looking at the British soldiers. They're very aggressive in this entire picture, as opposed to the colonists who are doing nothing. They look like they're not doing anything wrong. They're innocent, and they're being shot for no reason. It's kind of what Paul Revere is going for in this. When in reality, you're not seeing really the whole image of this. You're not seeing that the colonists had this big angry mob and they're yelling and screaming and throwing rocks, throwing snowballs, throwing ice at the British soldiers. And at one point, this is where history is kind of interesting. So it's been a long, long time ago, so people don't know what's really accurate, but they heard something about fire. And maybe the General Thomas Preston said fire, or maybe he didn't. Maybe he just said don't fire. But for whatever reason, they heard someone yell fire, and that's why these people ended up doing some shooting. So it's a very controversial time period, and Paul Revere is trying to get colonists really fired up with the British that these poor colonists are doing nothing wrong, and the British attacked them for no reason, when in reality that really wasn't what happened. Again, this is a topic I think a lot of you might be researching as far as an event. Very, very interesting stuff. So here are the questions we talked about last week about what you could ask about a primary source. We already mentioned, what do you notice? We can see it's a picture. It's something that is made. It's not like a photo like we'd have today. Although today you can do Photoshop and you can change pictures as well. But back then, this was an engraving. This is something that Paul Revere made himself. And Paul Revere made it. It was made very soon after. So it was made almost immediately after the Boston Massacre. And why was it created? It was created to get colonists fired up and get them mad at the British soldiers. This is where this document is very, very famous, but it also is very opinionated in terms of what's going on. And what I want you guys to do, if you're curious or maybe you're even researching this event, on the bottom here we have the deposition of Captain Preston. And you could actually read the whole trial and see what people said when people were going up to the stand. So it's kind of interesting if you are especially researching that. And then the other document that I have are different viewpoints and other primary sources. Whenever you look at a primary source, which again is talking about what's going on in that actual moment, a person that actually saw it firsthand, you can ask yourself these 5 questions just to make sure it's a legitimate source of information. The other thing you're going to be doing today is writing down a quotes by your famous person, or if you're doing an event, you're going to do a quotes by somebody talking about the famous event. So it could be someone that was in the event, or it could be some historian or some person talking about the event well after it happened as well. But you're going to do a quote by a person talking about your famous person or the famous event. So for Benjamin Franklin, all I did is did a Google search and typed in Benjamin Franklin quotes and tried to find something that I thought was really interesting and maybe tied in a little bit to this. And then at the end, you're going to write down what you think the quote means. Kind of give your opinion about the quote and what do you think, giving it context. So for Benjamin Franklin's quote, he said, "Never leave that till tomorrow, which you can do today." And I think this quote means to live in the moment. This is actually a very telling quote right now that we could use for us right now through this really tough time that we're in. Do all the things that are priority in your life immediately, because there's no guarantee of tomorrow. Tell people you love them every day are kind of the things that jump out at me. So spend time with your family. Do the things that you need to. Obviously, we want you to do school, but try to get your schoolwork done so you can have some time with your family. And if you have things that you want to do, try to do it right away. I know it's kind of hard today because we can't do a lot, but try to do whatever you can right now. Don't wait for tomorrow or wait for any time in the future to get things done. So again, look at primary sources, and your job today is to write down a quote by your famous person or a quote by some person about your famous event. Good luck. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.